A once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to watch the Golden State Warriors implode quietly, and they're seizing it with the subtle grace of a dumpster fire at a VIP gala. Feast your eyes on the latest circus, the Contrato de Kuminga saga, a mess. So spectacular it's got fans storming Twitter feeds, sports talk shows erupting, and persistent whispers that ownership might just be playing 4D chess, or maybe just straight up burning their legacy for laughs. Imagine Legacy Inc., led by the all-too-cunning front office, sitting back at their oak desk, counting dollar signs from luxury boxes, while the very foundation of Run It Back crumbles over a $45 million standoff. Yes, Jonathan Kuminga's contract situation is the unforgivable blemish on an otherwise glittering Warriors resume packed with glorious upheavals. From we believe playoff shocks to KD's ghost-haunting oracle, Klay's ruthless Game 6, heroics, and that 2022 champagne-soaked title parade that made us all forget how bitter the off-seasons can get. But now, the saga feels less like the prelude to a dynasty's next chapter and more like a Kafkaesque nightmare starring a locked door, negotiation room, and a silent phone that screams louder than any buzzer beater ever could. Let's rewind. Kuminga, that athletic marvel everyone pegged to be a cornerstone alongside Curry and Wiggins, has been held hostage in a standoff with the Warriors' front office, which for weeks dicked around with an offer they hoped would just magically keel the young forward's demands. Golden State slapped on a neat $45 million over 2 years, but tossed in only a team option for year 2, basically saying, "Trust us, kid, we've got your back whether you want it or not." Kuminga, however, has played the patience card like a pro, demanding a player option instead, giving him control, autonomy, and frankly the respect every rising star deserves, especially when you're gunning for compensation on par with the NBA's elite young bucks like Cade Cunningham and Scotty Barnes pulling over $40 million a year. But here's where it gets juicy. No sign-and-trade escape hatch emerged. Nada. The Warriors locked down the rumor mill. Apparently, shipping Kuminga off in exchange for some shiny but lesser players or draft throws was a bridge too far, especially with bird rights and cap math playing ruthless gatekeeper. So here we have it, a deal in the works that no one's celebrating, but everyone's reluctantly swallowing. A 2-year, $45 million contract with that all-important player option now penciled in. So the Warriors aren't throwing Kuminga to the wolves, and Kuminga isn't shackled like a rookie on a rookie-scale collar. Bleacher Report's Dan Favale even doubled down, basically telling Golden State to bend the knee or risk a complete disaster where Kuminga walks away angry, trades get vetoed, and the Warriors' bird rights vanish faster than their defense, in a playoff choke. The irony? This is a franchise that once prided itself on loyalty and legacy building, now reduced to cautious deal-making to avoid playoff-caliber tantrums. It's almost poetic that in trying to hold on to a piece of their future, the Warriors are risking turning Kuminga, a once-celebrated beacon of hope, into a simmering grievance that won't die. The financials make it clear. Kuminga will pocket about $22.5 million a year, a drop in the ocean compared to peer stars locked into $40+ million long-term contracts. Sure, the player option slaps a glimmer of power into his hands, but for how long? This deal freezes not only Kuminga's immediate future, but also Golden State's offseason, which has been suspiciously barren save for some rookie signings. Why? Because all eyes have been glued to this standoff, handcuffing the front office like a bad sci-fi plot where the villain is cap space and the superheroes are negotiating teams who can't seem to communicate. So don't let anyone tell you this is business as usual. This is a seismic event, a cautionary tale that could shake the Warriors' roster stability and possibly sabotage their championship chase for 2025-26. If the core starts fracturing over money and control, what hope does a team with fading weapons and a graying dynasty have against a loaded NBA landscape featuring the Nets rehabbing neon chaos, the Celtics' star-studded juggernaut, or an unrelenting Bucks and Lakers hunting for supremacy? And while we're exposing undercurrents nobody's shouting about, here's the bombshell no one sees coming. Whispers suggest this drama might be a distraction, a smokescreen engineered by ownership to cover up impending negotiations with another big-name star, or worse, covert plans to trade away popular veterans quietly, prepping for a rebuild masked as a reload. It's a classic Warriors oil spill, damage control dressed up as strategic patience. Meanwhile, the fan base is left holding popcorn while the franchise gambles with its reputation like a high-stakes blackjack table at a clandestine casino. How do you justify this? What kind of champion organization turns a young gun's career into boardroom fodder? What does this say about the valuation of loyalty versus dollar signs in a team built on the backbone of unbreakable brotherhood, epitomized by Splash Bros and the infamous Death lineup? Here's the cold truth. We've marinated in the glory of multiple rings and historic bursts of basketball artistry. But when the checks get written and the options get debated like a child's birthday party menu, the shine fades fast. The real pain hits when you realize that while Curry's still dazzling and Wiggins hustles, the Warriors risk turning into the NBA's version of a cautionary, nostalgic exhibit. And if this is how the franchise treats Contrato de Kuminga, a rising star hungry for respect and fairness, just wait. The rumor mill's next crescendo hints at which superstar might be storming out next, or worse, caught in the crossfire of management's quiet disintegration plans. Dub Nation, this isn't just a negotiation, it's a battleground for the soul of the Warriors' future. We've witnessed miracles and heartbreaking collapses, but this situation, it smells like the precipice of either a dynasty's death, throes, or the prelude to the most ruthless reboot the NBA has seen in decades. So light up those comments, throw down your takes, and brace yourselves. The Contrato de Kuminga chapter is far from over, and the war is just beginning. What if I told you that what you've seen so far is just the tip of the iceberg? That the chaos ripping through the Golden State Warriors isn't random bad luck, but a slow-motion implosion carefully stitched together by the very people who were once celebrated as geniuses? Before you roll your eyes, Dub Nation, slam that like button right now, because what I'm about to unravel will shake your faith in this franchise to its core. For years we've celebrated this dynasty, put ownership and management on pedestals, but behind the curtain has been a rot so deep, so corrosive, that it threatens to erase everything Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green bled to build. The front office, particularly Bob Myers before his exit, and the ownership group led by Joe Lacob, has orchestrated a culture where contracts, analytics, and bottom lines outweigh loyalty, vision, and the brotherhood that made this team immortal. This isn't about one bad trade or one questionable extension. This is about a system designed to squeeze every ounce of profit, while fans are left holding the bag of broken promises. Think about how this betrayal stacks up against history. When Durant left, Dub Nation was crushed, but at least there was clarity. A superstar chose his own path. Painful, yes, but understandable. This is different. This is betrayal from within, a dynasty poisoned by the very architects of its success. Whispers swirl that Kerr's coaching autonomy has been steadily eroded, his instincts as a player-turned-coach suffocated by layers of executive meddling. Imagine the mastermind of the 73-9 run, the Zen-like leader who held together egos, now being second-guessed by suits chasing quarterly returns. That's not just micromanagement. It's sabotage. And it explains why rotations feel off, why chemistry feels fragile, why fans can sense something hollow beneath the shine of chase. Center, the poison goes deeper. Rumors point to Lacob's growing impatience, not just with results, but with Kerr himself. Sources hint at scenarios where Kerr could be pushed aside, where the dynasty's spiritual leader is unceremoniously exiled in the name of innovation. Imagine that earthquake. Kerr gone, Steph forced to shoulder a new system in his twilight prime, the locker room's fragile bonds shattered. It's not just basketball at that point. It's a cultural collapse, a betrayal of identity that would make the KD exit feel like a warm-up. And the ripple effects? Catastrophic. Role players once willing to sacrifice for Kerr's system would drift, veterans would check out, young talent would view Golden State not as the pinnacle of basketball culture but as a sinking ship. And here's where history claws back into the narrative. Remember We Believe, that magical underdog run that ended not in triumph but in ashes because ownership failed to invest, failed to lock down the culture that fans would have died for? This feels like déjà vu, only worse. Because this time, we're not talking about an underdog. We're talking about a dynasty on the brink. Or think about the heartbreak of 2016. 73 wins, the most beautiful basketball the world had ever seen, and then collapse. That pain was sharp, but fleeting, because it led to Durant, too. More banners. This time, there's no savior waiting in the wings. There's only the slow grind of ego, greed, and short-sightedness dismantling what was sacred. And the front office knows it. That's the sickest part. They've seen this pattern before, and yet they march forward, masking it with press conferences, glossy slogans, and corporate spins about future flexibility. But flexibility for what? For whom? For fans who bleed blue and gold every night? Or for an ownership group that sees the Warriors less as a dynasty to preserve and more as an asset to flip at peak valuation? The whispers about a potential cash-out, selling, high before the dynasty collapses, aren't just rumors. They're strategies whispered in the halls of NBA power. And if that's true, then everything we're watching isn't incompetence. It's demolition disguised as retooling. Dub Nation, picture this. Steph, the soul of the franchise, watching helplessly as his legacy gets chipped away. Klay, fighting for his basketball life, only to be dangled as a cap casualty. Draymond, pouring every ounce of fire he has left, only to see the culture he screamed into existence reduced to a marketing slogan. Fans who once shook Oracle to its core, now muted in Chase Center's corporate glow, wondering if they've been sold not just tickets but a lie. And while we suffer, rival franchises like the Clippers of all teams steady themselves, poised to leap into the space we vacate. Imagine that humiliation. The Warriors dynasty, undone not by LeBron, not by KD, not by an opponent, but by its own supposed guardians, and the fear doesn't stop there. Sources hint that the real shoe yet to drop is a star-level trade brewing. Behind closed doors, a seismic gamble that could either reignite the dynasty or leave it in ruins. We're not talking about fringe moves. We're talking about the possibility of sacrificing a beloved name, maybe even one of the core, on the altar of this executive power play. Imagine the shockwaves if Draymond is shipped off, not for basketball reasons but for politics. Imagine Klay's farewell tour being cut short, replaced by cold negotiations. Imagine the unthinkable. Steph Curry himself, left dangling in a web of betrayal, loyalty treated as liability. And as if that weren't enough, the league is watching. Other superstars, eyeing Golden State as a potential destination, are recoiling at the dysfunction. Whispers spread that stars who once dreamed of donning blue and gold are now steering clear, afraid of stepping into a fractured culture and a locker room ruled by paranoia instead of trust. That's not just a crack in the foundation, it's the entire house sinking. And it leaves us, the fans, wondering, what are we really cheering for? A dynasty reborn? Or a brand? A hollow shell selling nostalgia while dismantling its soul? Dub Nation, we've lived through everything. The miracles, the heartbreaks, the betrayals, the resurrections. We've endured the We Believe crash, the agony of 2016, the bittersweet Durant years. But this moment feels different, heavier, more permanent. This feels like standing at the cliff's edge of history, staring down either rebirth or oblivion. And I can't shake the fear that what comes next will define not just this season, but the very soul of the Warriors forever. So I'll ask you this. Is this the end of everything we built, or the shocking rebirth we never saw coming? Drop your rawest takes in the comments because the saga isn't just unfolding, it's detonating and none of us can afford to look away.